Ash, my
Evening,
friend.
how are you?
I'm very well. Sorry for just cutting to you immediately, but this is a renegade political podcast here. So you are the Preston journalist. Just tell people about yourself before we crack on to what you think this means for Britain.
Yeah, so hopefully most of you know me from YouTube. I talk about politics all the time, focusing quite a bit on Scotland and the SNP. It's the only reason I started doing this in the first place, to be honest with you, was because of the SNP and people like Nicola Sturgeon. But I do obviously talk about the UK more generally as well. So as a political junkie tonight, it's like Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, I absolutely love. And I'll be up all night listening to or watching the results coming in.
Oh, well, I'm sure we've got a lot of political junkies in the comments. It's absolutely, we're racing up to 600 viewers, Ash. Right, so what does Starmergeddon mean for Great Britain?
For me personally, it is the worst of all worlds. I think Starmer is a disaster. I think he's a liar, and I think he's a charlatan. He's managed to get through an entire general election campaign by saying nothing through pure default. For the fact that Rishi Sunak is so useless, and people stopped listening to him for quite a long time ago. Let's face it, and because he wasn't elected in the first place, not even by the Tory membership, that is has granted Starmer what will probably be some form of majority when we see the exit poll at 10 o'clock. And it's ironic, I mean, people are entitled to vote for who they want to vote for. But in Scotland, for example, we see people complaining about the SNP's lack of transparency and secrecy. Yet there's a good chance tonight Labour are going to take a hell of a lot of seats in Scotland, and you'll get exactly the same lack of transparency and secrecy, I think, as well, from the Labour Party.
Mm-hmm. I can't agree anymore. The thing with this Labour supermajority is we don't really know what they represent. And the thing with Labour is, again, you're absolutely spot on by saying they've not really offered us anything apart from not being the Tories. And I mean, it is quite a good sales tactic. We're not them. But at the same time, I think British voters on the whole are now looking for something totally different to, we're not them. We're looking for action. We're looking for credible policies that we can all get behind. We're looking for people of action. And one of these people of action is Nigel Farage. He is saying what everyone sort of wants to hear. At the same time, it might be, I was on George Galloway's show a couple of weeks back, and he's giving me these coded messages saying, well, who is behind Farage? Who is the puppeteer? Is there a puppeteer, he said. At this stage in the game, at this critical point in British history, we'll have to take a gamble, Ash.
Yeah.
We have to take a gamble.
Well, how many years now have we had Tory, Labour, Labour, Tory, the usual carousel? And where's it got us? Absolutely nowhere. They can tell us what they like. Starmer will not stop the boats. Rishi was probably never going to stop the boats, although I think he probably wanted to, certainly towards the end anyway. The Tory party have turned into a bunch of spoilt gits, basically. They're dominated now by the Tory wets, as they're referred to, your Tobias Ellwoods, Caroline Noakes, people like that, who are so complacent they believe they don't even need to listen to the membership. A while ago, Tobias Ellwood actually said, and the head of 1922, I can't think of his name, Graham. Anyway, they said out loud to the media that in the future, the membership should have no say whatsoever in who is the leader of the party. I mean, why would you even pay your £25 a year to be a member of the Tory party if the MPs that you're supposed to go out there and leaflet for and campaign for don't even want to know your opinion on who the leader should be and who they're going to campaign for in the first place? These people have lost all sense of reality. And if the Tories do get a kick in tonight, the best thing that can happen, if it's ever going to rebuild itself, is that, in my opinion anyway, some more of the most conservative people, such as your Priti Patels or your Bravermans, maybe even your Jacob Rees-Moggs, people like that, may survive and rebuild the Tory party. But if the people that remain, who sit in some of the safest seats, as I said, your Elwoods and people like that, they're finished. And they're finished for a long, long time. And that void will be filled by Reform and by Farage and people like that, I believe.
Yeah, let's take it in a different direction, Ash. Let's take it in what do you make of the tactics of this campaigning? I mean, when I say tactics, I'm looking at Ed Davies of the Lib Dems. I mean, if you've seen his campaign, it has been quite comical. And he's purposely strayed so far away from controversy. It might be a good thing for the Lib Dems. But I mean, if you've seen any of his news clips, he's on, he's at a water park, he's on a bouncy castle, he's climbing a wall, he's playing football, he's doing all these sort of comical things. And we're like, well, I mean, again, Lib Dems, it's not really understood what they stand for.
No, and I have no idea what they stand for. I can't think of a policy. Oh, they've advocated for, is it free social care for everybody, without explaining how they're actually going to pay for that. As you said, he's been bungee jumping, he's been paddleboarding, and God knows what else. Purely, I don't like Ed Davey at all. I don't even know why he's a knight, to be honest with you. But he has been quite clever, because the controversy following him is obviously the Post Office Horizon scandal, and he's trying to stay away from that as much as he possibly can. And people haven't spoke about it once, as far as I've seen. I've mentioned it a couple of times. I'm sure other commentators like yourself have, but no one's talking about it.
Yeah,
no one's
right.
talking
that seems to be just swept under the carpet, Ash, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a clever tactic by him, not just acting like an idiot the whole way through the campaign. It looks like he's going to take several seats off the Conservatives. He's on track to have a couple of gains from the Labour Party in certain areas. It's just unbelievable how people are going to vote for this guy. But then again, it just shows the discontent that's out there for this duopoly, the two cheeks of the same backside, as George Galloway often calls it, which has dominated politics and run this country into the ground.
And then I'm going to take it a step further. I mean, you mentioned George Galloway there. In the future, I mean, you're entitled to disagree or agree with this, but I'm seeing this new sort of polarisation happening in Britain. And the polarisation being, I mean, you can imagine George Galloway on one side, and we can imagine Nigel Farage on the other side. And that's where I think the polarisation is going to come, because George Galloway does represent British values to a certain extent. And so does Nigel Farage. But I mean, they are two. I mean, I can go back and forth on George, but he is a good guy at the end of the day. He is. And a lot of people can disagree on that. But at the same time, I don't trust him implicitly, but I trust him more than, say, Keir Starmer. I trust him more than Rishi Sunak. And at the same time, I just feel the British society being totally polarised at this left-right paradigm. I don't foresee any middle ground being in British politics, and it seems to be erased right before our very eyes.
And you know what, with George Galloway, I've been on his show as well. I've spoken to him a few times. I actually really like the guy. I don't agree with him politically on hardly anything apart from Brexit, I think. But I actually really like the guy. And same with Farage. And believe it or not, even Corbyn. You know why? Because when these people speak, at least I know they believe what they're saying. They'll stand by their principles. And they've probably said the same thing for the last 20, 30, 40 years. You listen to Keir Starmer or Rishi Sunak, they will say, every time the wind changes direction, their opinions change on something or something else. At least the other people, you might not like them for whatever reason, but they've got principles and they stand by those principles and they've got strong beliefs. You ask Keir Starmer his opinion on anything and he will tell you nothing. Same goes for Rishi Sunak. I don't trust any of these people that are standing to be Prime Minister. And, there was a poll out the other day from YouGov and it had on it Rishi Sunak, Keir Starmer and Jeremy Corbyn. And the approval ratings for Corbyn and Starmer were 22%. The approval rating for Rishi Sunak was 18%. The disapproval ratings for Starmer and Sunak was 60%. And Corbyn's was only 55%. This is a guy who's going to be Prime Minister of this country tomorrow, probably. And he's going to be the least popular Prime Minister from the word go. And if he sees 5 years out, I will eat this webcam that's in front of me. There's no chance.
I mean, it's absolutely true, and it's astounding at the same time, Ash. Right, that this guy who's just cruised along, he's sort of avoided controversy. He's done nothing. He's really just espousing change. What doesn't make any, change what? And again, he's going to be Prime Minister with, according to the paper, the biggest majority since 1832. Can you believe this? I mean, this is what British politics has devolved into. A guy that's got no charisma. He's had a charisma ectomy. At the same time, there's nothing about him that I feel that is sellable, other than the fact he's not the Tories.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, you tell me his opinion on anything. If anybody can put in the comments or anything, a policy that Starmer has announced this general election campaign and hasn't rolled back on, I'd be shocked, because I haven't heard it, including, by the way, the private school VAT thing, which is not only very unpopular, he's now said, well, we're going to delay it a little bit. We might do it a bit further down the line, kick the can down the road. So that's not going to happen now either. I honestly don't know. Nobody seems to know what this guy stands for. There was I'm sorry to keep quoting polls, but there was another poll that was done by YouGov, and it out of Labour voters, they asked them, why are you voting Labour? 50% said because they aren't the Conservatives. Guess what percent said it's because they like Starmer?
10.
Less. 1% of people in the poll said it's because they like Keir Starmer. 49% don't know us.
That's simply incredible, Ash. It really is.
This is going to be the most crazy election we may ever see in our lifetimes. But the size of the majority, it's going to be too much. It's going to be unfettered power, and he's going to be able to do whatever he likes. And there's not going to be anybody. I don't care if you've got big voices in there like Galloway or Farage in the Parliament. They won't be able to do a single thing to stop him.
See, tell me in the comments, guys. We've got 700 plus people watching. Tell us in the comments. I mean, with this unfettered power that Ash is describing here, what will Labour do? What will Labour do? And this is the thing. They will be able to rush through any law straight away. They've got a super majority in the House of Commons where they can do anything they want. And what will they do immediately? I don't know. But I'm not... I'm not really enthusiastic about what they're going to do. In fact, I'm actually quite fearful about what Labour's going to do. And people are voting for this.
Yeah, I hate to say this, because obviously I unlike Keir Starmer, I abide by democratic votes. I don't say people don't know what they're voting for, but it's very hard to know what you're voting for when they won't tell you what they're going to do. And for example, this gender ideology, only in the last few days, when now they've got a nice big poll lead, have they started putting out this gender stuff? None of them can say, for example, what toilet a bloke in a skirt should use who pretends to be a woman. None of them can tell us what schools are going to be taught. Are they going to keep up the Tories' strict line on stopping teaching children, for example, or convincing them to change their gender at the age of 5 just because a girl likes to play football and a boy picks up a doll, for example? Doesn't mean they're on their own bodies, but that is the kind of crap that's going to come down the line with these people. And the situation now is bad enough, but things are only going to get worse. It's going to be like the SNP on steroids. It's going to be horrendous when they get this power.
You're not instilling much confidence in me, Ash. Really are. This is the thing. Being on the forefront of this gender ideology war, which is absolutely horrific. In Scotland, it seems to be the test bed. Again, Scotland seems to be this area in the UK where policies are just tested. And it's so strange, but at the same time, it does feel like we're just this policy testing ground. And the gender ideology, the GRR, it's done such incredible damage, not just to families up and down the land, but it's to our very society and the way we think. It's becoming to we're straying so far from biology and natural phenomenon that it's just it brings back that thing from 1984. Disregard your eyes and ears. That was our final request. Disregard your eyes and ears. And this is where we are. Because
it is.
I've went back and forth. I've said in my conference speech that the gender ideology, in order to destroy this overarching lie, to sort of escape the matrix, Ash, we've got these 3 or 4 different counteracting, or no counteracting. We've got these different lies that Britain is facing now. We've got the net zero lie, right? Where that's it's a fool's errand. While we shut down our entire economy and ruin our energy infrastructure, China build a coal power plant every other week, and India do the exact same. And yet, if Britain was to sink into the sea, it would make no difference. on the global carbon emissions. No difference whatsoever. And yet we have to do that, right? That's the net zero lie. Then we've got this, the gender ideology lie. This is, to me, it's the single easiest lie to deconstruct. You don't even need to be able to read or write to understand what a man and a woman is. It's intrinsic, it's biological, it's inbuilt into us to understand what a male and a female is. Mm-hmm. And it's seen right across the animal kingdom, right through nature, and yet we're being asked to disbelieve our eyes and ears. So my political philosophy is that we need, in order to sort of break the stranglehold on all these different overarching lies that are sort of crippling our society, we need to defeat the gender ideology. And who's been going most against this? The other parties? Nigel Farage.
Yeah, well, it is the destruction of the family unit, isn't it? That's exactly what the aim is here.
Yes.
And it's taking away the mother's or the father's right to bring their children up in the way they see fit, teach them how to behave, all the rest of it, and then give it to the state. And that's what they want. They go straight into the education system and they get taught all this rubbish. There are kids at nursery being taught that rainbow is like the ultimate colour. I was speaking to a friend's son a while ago, and he's only 4, and I asked him what his favourite colour was, and I forget what he said now. But anyway, as he told me a couple of colours, he then, like, out of sheer nervousness, he went, "Oh, and rainbow," like, you know, like it's been drilled into him to actually say rainbow. Like, that's the ultimate symbol that you've got to look up to. It's like looking at a bloody swastika. I know it's a bit of an extreme example.
I know.
But, you know, it's like something to bow down to, this rainbow flag and this ideology. And then they change the flags into different little patterns and keep expanding the LGB to T and Q and God knows what it's up to now. But it's literally destroying the family. And if you look at any statistics, they will tell you that a child has better life chances when they are brought up by a mother and a father, not necessarily married, but parents that live together and bring up a child together in a loving relationship. And those children always do better in life. And I'm not saying single parents are all bad, but single parent children always do worse in life than those who are brought up by a loving mum and dad.
Yeah, I mean, it's and in this day and age, that is supposed to be a radical statement, Ash, right? Yeah. But over time and over the last sort of month or two, I would say we've seen more and more politicians starting to say that. I mean, we've seen, first of all, I think it was, again, George Galloway, he sort of broke the wave on that by saying it on a podcast. He says, "No, actually, I think I don't want my sons getting taught that." Simple. And now we've seen David Curtin of the Heritage Party say very similar things on Ian Dale. And Ian Dale threatening to cut his mic off.
I know.
You know, you cannot say these things. These are verboten statements. Just absolutely outrageous scenes. And, you know, you're absolutely correct to point out the underarching motive of this, which is to destroy the nuclear family. Absolutely. I mean, you've nailed it in one. This is what the root cause of this is. The transgenderism, the promoting of, you know, this rainbow ideology, this unassailable rainbow that no one is allowed to attack. And, you know, it takes me back to when I was in the Rutherglen by-election, and I'm saying, I stood up and says, "You know what, day one, if elected, I'll go into every single school in the constituency and tear the rainbows off the wall." And immediately the Tory guys said, "Oh, that's too extreme, too extreme." And again, it's just, they don't understand the urgency, the necessity for this to be done. Because as we're all doing pride marches around the street, there are a whole generation of kids that are getting brought up, they're getting their minds warped, they're getting absolutely brutalized psychologically in this country, and it needs to end. It needs to end. And I think this is why...
These people are cowards, aren't they? Sorry to interrupt.
Absolutely. No, don't interrupt me at your behest.
These people are cowards. These are supposed to be political leaders, people that represent thousands of people in every constituency. And all they do is listen to the minority who shout the loudest every single time on every single issue. It doesn't matter what it is. And then people like you and I, who don't necessarily go screaming around the streets, but try and have a sensible conversation, get completely drowned out. And then before you know it, all the politicians are saying that a man has a penis. David Lammy's now saying you can grow a bloody cervix. I mean, what is going on with these people? And they stand there with a straight face and say this rubbish. I mean, how did they get re-elected? I would never vote for someone who told me the rubbish like that, because like you said, believe the evidence of your own
Yeah,
eyes.
of
There are
course,
two
it's,
genders. This is basic biology.
And this is the thing. Like when we cut to, let's cut to, let's just look at the stuttering that this causes in John Swinney. It's just absolutely hilarious. Well, I'm just going to play the first 10, 15 seconds of this, right?
First Minister, how many genders are there?
Well, I think there'll be quite a debate about that.
Let me stop you there, John. No, there won't be quite a debate about that.
I know.
If this guy asks you on the radio, how many gender, you say, why did you ask me such a stupid question, Nicky? There are only two. What are you talking about? You know that. I know that. Everybody knows that. And yet you're asking me, what is going on? It's insane that this is the gotcha question. And it shows the degradation in our society that this gender ideology has sort of, it's a big rainbow spell that's been cast on the land.
What does Swinney think he's doing, though? What kind of election tactic is that? Who's he appealing to? You know, these people that believe there's 2.5 million genders, they're about 0.0001% of the population or something. This guy saw the gender recognition reform bill. He saw that 70% of Scots and 80% of the UK population as a whole would not have voted for it in a month of Sundays. Mm-hmm. He's now trying to appeal to such a small minority, probably losing people that actually respect biology and family values, etc., which are going to be a hell of a lot more votes to lose than a few trans people. Mm-hmm. You know, what this guy's done in his election campaign, he's been probably the one person that's been worse than Rishi Sunak for this election campaign.
I mean, it's again, all the leaders, I think definitely John Swinney has performed the worst. And that will hopefully transpire and sort of eke its way into the results that we're going to get in about 15 minutes with the exit poll. But again, I think John Swinney has got like key inside knowledge here. He was the one that implemented the curriculum for excellence, or sexcellence that I call here in Scotland. He was the one that implemented that. So, and this was way back when. So this education system has had time to bed in with the younger generation, and this trans thing, it is seen. It's what I call weaponized kindness and compassion. It's not, to say, oh, let's just live and let live. Let them be who they want to be. And of course, most people are like that, Ash, right? But at the same time, if my friend, if we're at the golf course and he's saying, Niall, I'm actually sorry to tell you this, but I think I'm going to come out as a girl. I'm like, don't be daft. It's impossible, and I wouldn't be shy in telling someone that. And I think that you're actually doing someone a more of a service if you're telling them the truth than you are to sort of, embrace someone's delusion like that. But we're veering off into ideology here. Let's focus on the election, right? So we've got 15 minutes before the exit polls out. What do you think are going to? What's your predictions? Give me a prediction for Reform. How many seats do you think Reform are going to get in England?
I've had a tenner at the bookies on them getting 10 seats or more. I think that's. When I put it on, I thought it was pretty. What's the word? Optimistic, but I'm not so sure now. I think there's a lot of races here that Reform UK can win. And I've been looking at some of the polling from those seats today, and there's some big wins they can gain. Like Boston, Skegness, they're ahead in Great Yarmouth, they're ahead in Clacton, they're ahead in Ashfield. There was a few Barnsley South, they're ahead in there. That's at least 5 now. And there's many more seats where Labour activists have been telling me that they don't think they're going to win. They've genuinely believed that they're going to go, some of these red wall seats are going to go from blue to a different shade of blue, if you will. They're going to go to Reform UK because Labour simply aren't cutting through. Reform are now taking 7% of 2019 Labour voters, and that's doubled in a week. So I think Reform UK could cause a shock here. I think we'll see 12, which is a credible start.
That's a very, very good number, especially with the absolutely brutal, cutthroat first past the post system. There is no going back for it. It's you either win or you win or you lose. End of. and it's such a cutthroat. But I really quite like that. You know, it's all in.
Oh yeah, certainly that.
So,
Yeah.
So in terms of reform as well, I'll put in the Ash's prediction down as 12. And you said you've got a tenner on. Oh wow!
I've 10 or more seats. Yeah, put a tenner on it. Yeah.
I think Alex Cole Hamilton's bets are a bit heftier than a tenner. But you know, I really hope you win, and I think you will win, Ash.
Fingers crossed.
If you don't mind me asking, what was the odds for that? Your tenner gets what back?
If we move on for a second, and I will find it for you now. I'll tell you what the odds were.
Well, again, guys, get the comments in. We're approaching 1,000 viewers on my maiden live stream, guys. Amazing. Absolutely incredible scenes. And we're going all the way to about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So these numbers need to get cranked up. Get it shared, get it out there. Because you know what's coming, guys. You know what's coming. It's Skeletor Watch. We need Stephen Flynn out in Aberdeen. I won't stop until it's done. So Skeletor Watch will be happening. We'll be going back and forth to Aberdeen, and we've got a man on the ground in the Aberdeen count who's going to give us a bird's eye view of what's happening. We'll get him on the phone closer to when the polls get picked up. I reckon it could be about 12:30, 1 o'clock, 1 a.m. seems to be the best time to phone and get sort of, because it allows the people at the counts to sort of see if there's a pattern emerging in these votes. Right, okay. What else is happening? So we've got 10 minutes until the exit polls, guys. Tell us in the comments what you think is going to be the results. And more to the point, I think Labour, obviously, the story of the night is going to be the Labour supermajority. But tell us in the comments, what does that mean for Britain? Really, what does that mean for Britain? And what does that mean for Britain on the global stage? Is this Keir Starmer's going to be his Walk of Fame? Is this going to be the next best Prime Minister? Is he going to come of age, really, in his post as Prime Minister? He certainly can't be worse than Rishi Sunak. Or you know, I just don't see it being that bad. But will they be able to make a stranglehold on this House of Commons? How long are Labour going to maintain power with a supermajority like this, Ash? How long?
I mean, it's a very divided party. Let's not forget there are a lot of people in there, including the deputy leader, who cannot stand the sight of Starmer, and they cannot wait to get rid of him. They've kept the gob shut for the majority of this campaign to make sure they get into power. But I think once they get into power, if they get 400 MPs, whatever it is, I think it'll be a bit less. I don't think it'll be quite as big as what everybody says. But even if they do get 300 odd MPs, it's still going to be a big, big majority. And there's going to be a lot of infighting. The bigger the majority, the harder it is to manage. And even though the Tory majority in that 2019 was only 80, look how hard that proved to manage. When you've got people on complete polar opposite sides of different arguments, whether it be Brexit or immigration or anything like that, these people are not going to be easy to manage. And there aren't many sensible people in Labour. There are one or two, but you're going to have these hard left fighting the blue rights, you call them that, something like that in the centre, I suppose. And it's going to be a bloodbath eventually. And we are going to see, I think, a lot of by-elections after this general election. And just as a footnote, it was 6-1 for Reform UK to get 10 or more seats.
Wow, Ash, that is actually incredible odds. And I think that's maybe... those odds, I think, the bookies shouldn't be laying these odds. I think you're quite safe in that bet. Or at least it'll be very, very close. I think it will be 10-15. But we know for certain Nigel Farage, come this time tomorrow, he will be an MP. It looks like he's won Clacton by a country mile. And I mean, let's talk about Farage, because we've got 8 more minutes until the exit polls come out, and we can all digest that. But what do you think about Nigel Farage being able to sort of energise the people of Clacton and mobilise so many people? Ash, have you seen a British politician in the last 10 years being able to muster a crowd at the click of a finger like Nigel Farage can?
No, I've not seen a politician probably in my lifetime that can muster a crowd like Farage can. He's never been in the House of Commons, yet he's the most influential politician this country has seen. Everything he does, people get on his side. He's got the common touch, a little bit like Boris, actually, but probably not. He's probably a bit better than Boris. He gets people on his side. He knows how to speak to people, whether that's having a pint with him or going down a bus, just walking down the street. How often do you see a Keir Starmer or a Sunak walk down the street and be able to communicate with your average Joe like you or me walking down the road? He'll stop, he'll chat to you. He's not standoffish. Do you know what I mean? I've seen him in the streets. I've met the guy. He's a very personable person when you speak to him. Everything any of the other parties do is so choreographed. Who they meet, where they go. It's stage managed to the finest detail to make sure that nothing goes wrong. And even when Starmer, last time I saw him try to meet random people, he got thrown out of a pub, which was in Bath, I think. So Farage is an incredible politician. And if you look at Birmingham the other day, how many turned up there with something like 48 hours notice? I think it was over 5,000 people with over just about 48 hours notice. This guy, if he gets into Parliament, can get his voice heard. No doubt they'll try and shut him down, but he's got every right to speak in there just like everybody else. And once he gets his voice out there, and if he's got a couple of others next to him, say a Richard Tice, a Lee Anderson, that have all got nice big mouths on them, they can make a splash and they can finally get a bit of momentum behind this reform campaign. And as long as they don't make any big gaffes and there's no skeletons in the closet, for example, I think there's a massive chance that they are going to be, not this time round, obviously, but the official opposition at least after the next election.
I'm with you on this, Ash. I mean, to be fair, I don't think I've seen in my lifetime someone who can just muster a crowd like Farage can, and he's got this sort of supernatural power in order to do so. He just, and again, I go back to what you said. He just seems like a normal guy, Ash. You know, he seems like you're the guy you'd meet in the pub or at the snooker hall or at the pool, whatever it is, at a football match, at the rugby. He just seems like a normal guy. And this is the quintessential sort of prime minister that I think Britain has always needed and wanted. As someone that is so personable, just loved. I mean, I would like a prime minister who could walk about alone in his own country, safe in the knowledge that the people he represent would not want any harm to be done to him. And this is just, I think that time and that period is long gone, but we can only hope that it comes again. So we've got 5 minutes to the exit polls, guys. Put in the predictions in the comments, guys. What's going to be the numbers for the SNP? We're focusing on the SNP tonight. We know Labour's going to win a huge majority here, but what's going to happen to the SNP? Is it sub 25 seats? Is it more than 25 seats? Are they going to maintain their seats? You tell me in the comments. We've got over 1,000 people watching on the Maiden podcast. Let's go.
What's your prediction, Niall, for the SNP's total seats?
I mean, I said yesterday I think they're going to get 21 seats.
Oh, very close to me.
I hope and pray it's less than 10. But really, there's so many on a knife edge that it could go either way. And just judging by the sort of, I've been living on Twitter the last few days, but just judging by what I've seen on Twitter, there have been a lot of people in Scotland that have disregarded tactical voting and given reform the nod, which could really affect, the sort of areas in Scotland like Dumfries, the borders, and north of Aberdeen and north of Aberdeen, and seats like Douglas Ross's seat, and seats like Stephen Flynn's seat, and fleets like Oliver Mundell and the borders in Dumfries. So this is it's really quite crucial, I think, that in order to sort of save reputational damage, I think reform really need to sort of skirt just under the sort of numbers that they need to be at in order to avoid SNP MPs slipping in under the net by virtue of reform taking votes off the main opponent. That would be not a disaster for reform, but it would be semi-reputational damage because people will then blame reform for having more SNP MPs. I mean, I feel like they're almost in a lose-lose situation up here in reform.
Yeah,
if they do have a cracking election, which I think they'll have right across England, Scotland might be a different state of affairs, but I think if they do sort of have a massive impact in Scotland, it's going to be quite bad in terms of it's going to be in terms of returning more SNP MPs, which up here in Scotland it might be seen as unforgivable, because that's just the way people up here in Scotland, they're like, we've been trying so very long to get the SNP out that I think if reform end up just accidentally allowing SNP in, which isn't really, it's not really their fault at the end of the day. But if they do, they do.
To be taken seriously, though, reform have got to stand candidates everywhere, I believe.
Yeah.
And if you're going to say, well, I'm going to stand aside for the Tories or Labour or whatever to stop the SNP getting more seats, then I don't think that's going to do reform any favours either. I think it'll be equally as damaging for them, because it's essentially doing what they did in 2019 for Boris Johnson. And then that turned out to be a complete and utter mess, handing him that 80-seat majority, which, let's face it, has not worked out very well. But again, with the SNP, I mean, the Holyrood elections, I can understand it more trying to get them out of Holyrood. Oh, 1 minute 10. With the SNP's Westminster contingency, essentially, they're pretty powerless. I mean, they can't really do a great deal. I believe it's in Holyrood that they do most of their damage. Because in Westminster, they're just loud voices shouting, really, and nobody takes them that seriously. So I think if getting them out of Holyrood is far more important than actually getting them out of Westminster. But obviously, it wouldn't do any harm to get rid of them.
Here we go. The moment is here, Ash. The moment is here, my friend.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Are you ready for this, ladies and gentlemen? The exit polls. 30 seconds. Brace yourself. The Titanic is going to hit the iceberg, ladies and gentlemen. Brace yourself. Hold your breath. This is going to be absolutely crazy, guys. I'm going to grab the coffee that's been slipped at the door. 10 seconds to go. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. It's almost too much to bear. Here we go. Oh, my God. SNP at 10 seats, guys. 10 seats.
Wow.
Are you serious?
That I said 22 before that. I believe they get 22 seats.
Holy dynamite, guys. This is the numbers we need to get, guys. This is heroic. Wow.
Bloody hell, 410 for Labour.
Wow. Lib Dems, the third biggest party in the UK. Oh my God.
206, 207, 217. So, what's that? 197 majority, is it? If that comes in, I think.
187?
187, is it?
77. This is just insanity. But the story of the night, guys, 10 seats for SNP. This is insane.
That's got to be some big hitters gone, that now. That has got to be
some big hitters. We're talking what I like to. We're going to drill down into the numbers as soon as we get more information on this. But this is incredible numbers, guys. Tell me in the comments, what do you think? 10 seats for the SNP, guys. Is this the result we wanted? I believe it is.
That's Swinney gone tomorrow, that. If they do get 10 seats, that's Swinney gone first thing tomorrow morning. I actually thought he might stay if they got something like 18 to 25. I thought he might cling on, but with 10 seats, I don't think he can.
Let's mute this for the time being. We've seen the numbers. Let's sort of, I'll see if I can drag this out of position a wee bit. So we got us bigger. We're doing this on the fly, ladies and gentlemen. Bear with us. Right. Oh my God. 10 seats for the SNP. Our work is complete, ladies and gentlemen. Our work is complete. And quite a great showing for Reform at 13 seats. What do you make of that?
That's actually better than I thought it'd be at the start of the campaign. And I don't think it would have got anywhere near that had Nigel not come back. What happened behind the scenes to make him come back? And well, I think it was his reputation amongst the public. But what happened, Richard Tice? Did he fall out with him? Did he tell him to step aside? Did Tice realise that he couldn't take him any further? probably, and he was probably right to do so. And 13 seats in your first general election, unheard of.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. Please get Sturgeon's reaction. Let's go ITV live. If they got a live, holy crap, they do, guys. Let's. Oh my god, let's get some volume on this. Let's get us sort of smaller. We get this. All eyes on Sturgeon's tears tonight. Get Sturgeon tears in the chat, guys. Oh, cut to Nicola Sturgeon, please. Please, please, please. Oh, this has got me in such a good mood, Ash.
That is incredible. I didn't. What were the left with before? After all the by-elections, was it 43 before the election?
I mean, see the polls in Scotland. It was anywhere between 8 and 38. It was impossible to call.
No, I mean, how many did they actually have before the election was called?
I think it was 48.
48.
It was insanity. Oh, look at her face. Look at her face, guys. I wish we could. I'm going to zoom in on this. We're going even smaller, Ash. I'm sorry. We're going really small.
No.
We need to get a zoom in on her face.
The irony, she did this to herself. If she hadn't gone for this stupid GRR stuff and that,
goodness.
she'd still be there.
Cut to Sturgeon! She's struggling. She's struggling to keep herself composed.
God, look at that panel. What a bunch of deadbeats.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, she's
Speechless.
sulking.
Oh.
It's all over. Finished.
Oh.
She won't even
I know,
look at the
it's a
camera.
typical nippy face. It is absolutely a typical nippy face. Oh, my God.
It's like
I
she's been asked a
suppose,
difficult question by a journalist.
Yes, they have. No. Can't hear it. Right, I'm going to crank it up a bit. Sorry, my man.
No, I mean, that's all.
Oh,
Is it something in the studio?
You left
yeah, I've got it.
So that we can't.
You should be able to hear it, guys.
Police investigation,
Yeah,
an active
my bad.
one, and for legal reasons, you can't talk about it. I can't ask you about it. Nevertheless, there are going to be lots of people watching in Scotland tonight who are going to say, "Look, this looks like an absolutely
Look at her
disastrous
face."
result," and there are going to be people inside your party and perhaps out saying, "It's all your fault."
Absolutely, I don't doubt that at all. This is at the grimmer end of expectations for the SNP if the exit poll is right. And given what I said earlier on, I suspect it will be broadly right. I'll come back to that in a minute. I think, first of all, this is seismic for Labour, and there's no getting away from that. A massive achievement for Keir Starmer. I think it will be interesting as the night progresses to see the extent to which this is a victory driven by a Tory collapse as opposed to a Labour surge. I agree with Ed, seeing the vote shares will be fascinating. I think there's also a question about this massive mandate Labour now has and what actually is it a mandate for. They were very, very cautious during the campaign. I think the UK political system may be reaping the whirlwind of appeasing Farage rather than taking Farage on the core arguments that he makes, particularly around immigration. But a seismic win for Labour, and it looks as if Labour has also won its first election in a long time in Scotland. Yes, there are clearly big issues in a result of this scale for the SNP. The SNP's been in government for 17 years. We're in government now at a time when austerity is really biting. The impact of Brexit is biting. Of course,
you know what I think this is
there will
called
always be real challenges in this election. But it's also about the context of the election. This was a kick the Tories, get the Tories out. And that always happened to the SNP pre the independence referendum.
Let's
and
get the party started,
reverting
guys.
to that tonight. But, this is not a good night for the SNP on these numbers, and there'll be a lot of questions.
Not a good
that
night.
need to be
The
asked,
understatement
as we
of
come out.
the
I think there will be
century.
a question about whether there was enough in the campaign to give effectively a USP to the SNP in an election that was about getting the Tories out and replacing them with Labour. But no doubt we'll get into much of that as the night progresses.
She embezzled all the money. That's why there's no campaigning.
Rob, so for me, this is the most important general election result since 1979. That was important. We discovered actually somewhat after that election date, simply because it represented such a dramatic policy shift. We don't know actually quite yet what kind of policy shift this will represent. But if you just look at what's happened to
right, guys. Now that Sturgeon has,
we're
going to sort of shorten the volume on this.
We're hearing this
we're going to bring us back.
Reform is going to get a significant number of seats.
Right, guys. Tell me in the comments. This is what
compared to the big parties, but we've never
knew we're going to lose 38
far-right
MPs here, SNP MPs. Who do you want gone the most? Is Stephen Flynn? Is Skeletor among them? Is Skeletor among one of these MPs gone? We can only cross our fingers and pray, guys. We can only do it.
It's going to be very inefficient.
He's got to be, hasn't he? Surely.
It's got to be. Right, guys, let's get the party started. I think this is deserved. It really is. This is a colossal result for everyone in Scotland tonight. It really is. This is incredible. 38 MPs gone in a flash.
Once again,
cheers, everyone.
In Scotland by a margin.
I had 11 names that we've actually heard of from the SNP, and we're down to lose the seats. The rest are pretty much nobody's. But
this is the most
if they've all gone,
they're
finished. Absolutely finished.
This is, I mean, let me know in the comments, guys. What does this mean for John Swinney?
What you think?
Really, what does this mean? Please be Skeletor gone, please, please.
Really quite significant is high. And the potential also, not just in those seats. And this is, as Robert said, this is a really extraordinary moment. It's a real breakthrough for reform for Nigel Farage.
What an incredible night.
The impact that reform is having right across
are absolutely accurate, though.
In loads of seats.
The night is still young.
Conservatives are being damaged, is going
this it might not be minus 38. It might be, you know, plus or minus 1 or 2. I don't think the exit polls are rarely wrong.
The Liberal Democrats. So on both sides of that,
here we go. Bob, I think the 38 will include the 2
unseat the Conservatives in this election.
Alba and Lisa Cameron.
Oh yeah, it will.
Yeah, of course. Well, Neil Hanvey, I don't think had a chance. I'm afraid Neil Hanvey was in Cowdenbeath and Kirkcaldy. I didn't see them returning him, even though I quite like Neil Hanvey. He stood out on some of the core issues. One, the gender ideology that we were talking about earlier on, and the vaccines. You know, he's been one of the guys that stuck out his neck out. Here we go.
Yes,
Chin chin, guys. I hope you're joining me.
What it tells you, and Jane is sort of already
into
this.
Ash, it tastes beautiful.
Everyone going, how can we get rid of the Conservatives? We found that
I should have changed the label to Sturgeon Tears. Oh, yes. I wonder what Peter Murrow is doing tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
And to a more limited extent, the Greens.
Getting a lawyer.
So what we'll find when the results come in is we'll find the Conservative vote collapsing everywhere.
No, just some of the names that I had, Niall, like Alan Dorrans, Neil Gray, Martin Day, Stuart McDonald, Tommy Shepherd, Joanne Cherry, David Linden, Patrick Grady, Alan Smith, Kirsten Oswald. All these people were predicted to lose the seats.
Wow.
They've probably all gone now, as well as a lot more. And Stephen Flynn was on a knife edge, so we obviously don't know where it's going to go yet.
And in some of the
oh man, see, it's been a long time coming for Joanna Cherry as well. It really has. So Joanna Cherry has been sort of flying below the radar. She honestly has. She's been flying below the radar in the SNP for such a long time. We're just going to mute that for a second. Did I mute that? I don't know.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
This is quite annoying, this wee layout. There we go, that's better. So we've got another 15 minutes before we get David Griffiths on. We're going to wave goodbye to Ash, who's been such a great co-pilot for the last hour, mate. Thanks very much for being here. And thanks for sharing this moment with me, Ash. It feels like, did you say 16 seats for reform? Is that your tenor being ripped right off you?
10 or more. 10 or more.
10 or more?
Yep.
That's the easiest £50 you've ever made.
Exactly. Fingers crossed.
Incredible scenes, Ash. Well done. Well done. This is it. We hope Flynn loses his seat. Skeletor demands it. He-Man. Yes. I can't contain myself, guys. I actually can't contain myself. This is incredible.
Well, make sure you enjoy the rest of it. Now, I'm going to carry on watching anyway, so I'm sure it'll all be good fun.
It's going to be incredible, guys. It really is. You're welcome to stay right up until David Griffiths comes on in 50 minutes, if you'd like. We're approaching 1,200 viewers, guys, on my maiden broadcast. And Ash, I can't thank you enough for spending the last hour with me. You've been very astute in your analysis. You've even made £50 in the process of this last hour. So your hourly is absolutely smashing it. Please, if you don't know Ash, you don't follow Ash, give him a shout. Give him a follow. I'm just going to bring up your socials. Ash. So x.com, AK Writing 88, known on YouTube as the Preston Journalist. Very astute political commentator. As you can see, he's placed a bet and correctly won. I mean, you can't beat that, really. So next we've got David Griffiths coming up at past, who's going to discuss. We're going to discuss the exit polls, what that means for. Well, David Griffiths was the architect behind the tactical voting guide here in Scotland, and it looks to have paid absolute dividends. The question is, which 10 MPs remain? Maybe that's the chance. Maybe that's the opportunity for. So I'm losing my track of my mind. This is like we'll be able to get a more sort of clear picture of who's going to win or who's going to retain their seats. Sorry, with David Griffiths coming on, because he'll know which seats are on a knife edge. I think in my heart of hearts, I want Skeletor to be gone. But I think he might be one of the ones who retained his seat. Ash, what do you think?
If I was going to say anybody, yeah, I'd say you would. But then again, he and the SNP are threatening 240,000 jobs-ish in the oil and gas industry around Aberdeen, and those communities rely on that industry a lot. So maybe they've had the good sense to get rid of him. But it'll be absolutely humiliating, and I won't be able to stop smiling if he does get voted out. Right.
We're going to take a short break. We're going to take just give me a wee second to get the toilet and all that stuff. We'll come back. I'll keep it running in the background. What I'll do is unmute this. We'll go up to here and
you can see this is suggesting that Labour are picking up seats even in that 19 to 29% swing area. We're going to continue, I think, even beyond that during the night. Now,
Ash, you've been an absolute pleasure to have here, my friend. You can still be listening. We're going to take a 5-10-minute interval, 5-minute interval, guys. Enjoy, get yourself a drink, get yourself a coffee. We're buckling in for the rest of the night. We're going to get people. We've got David Griffiths coming up in 10 minutes. Alistair McConaughey, if Force for Good, at 11:30. We've got 12 o'clock. We're going to get. In between that, we've got Craig Houston Talks as well, who's our fantastic host. 12 o'clock, we'll probably cut to John Watt, Bring the Noise of the Vaccine Injured Group. Then we've got David Scott, another great political analysis. And then we're going to go live. We're going to phone people on the counts. I'm just going to put them right on speakerphone, guys. Right? As you can see, and then Dave's speaking the truth. I do need to pace myself. I really do. Right, guys. Thanks for coming on, Ash. Please send Ash your regards. Give him a follow. He's been fantastic.
Thank you, Niall. Thank you, everybody.